Coach said that, he has full confidence that Dustin's going to kind of work his way through this. I'm
Yeah.
sure you feel the same way. Anything in particular you guys are working with him on this week?
No, like I've said, we haven't had the results that we want with the kicks, and I think that he's just trying to work through it with going back and evaluating really his technique and why we're not getting the results we'd like to.
How do you determine who's going to kick Sunday?
We're just kind of working it out, seeing how it goes throughout the week, and make a decision on what we feel like we need to do.
Dustin talked about being in a good place mentally, but does part of you wonder if taking a week off might help him kind of kickstart, get him back to where he was?
Yeah, we've talked about a few different things, and like I said, we're just going to try to see how it goes today. Both of them will kick today and tomorrow, and then make a determination on how we're going to go for this week.
The fact that Riley was here last year, and I guess that I assume it's enticing to getting him back in here?
Yeah, I think there's some familiarity with him. Ironically, we have a different snapper and holder from whenever he was here last year. So, so he's a good kicker and he's a hard worker. So
Riley talked about just the relationship he had with Dustin a year ago. Does that help? Maybe because it's always, I'm sure, difficult situation. When somebody comes in and challenges you.
Yeah, I think.
Does that help though? It's kind of smooth things.
I think so. Like Coach said, Kevin said it. I mean, Dustin's our kicker. So, if we feel like we need to sit Dustin for a week, we can do that. That's not necessarily what's going to happen. We're going to see how the week goes.
About the release of Kadarius. Obviously, you don't have Kadarius or Jalen Darden here. Who do you expect to be returning punts for you guys?
I mean, I would anticipate it's going to be James and Elijah are the two guys that we have available right now.
What do you think about Bill going to Carolina?
I know my son is going to be wherever Steve Belichick's coaching. So if Steve Belichick's the head coach at North Carolina at some point, my son will be going there.
How old's your son?
He turns 11 next week. It's not far away.
Strong endorsement for Steve Belichick.
Well, I feel like, Bill gave me my foundation in football. I learned so much as a player and as a coach. And there's no better place that I would want my son to go to school than to play and learn football under the Belichicks.
College was possible for him? Did you have a sense that he might want to go back there?
For Bill? Probably not. But honestly, after I had listened to his interview with McAfee and how he sees building that, that really he's seeing it like an organization to a degree because of how the college football operation is running right now. And after hearing him talk, I could understand why he's going back or why he's going to college,
What about the NIL component of college now, and how you think he might handle that sort of stuff?
Listen, Coach Belichick he's a freak at what he does. He's ridiculous, and Mike Lombardi will do a really good job too. Those guys work well together, and it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch.
When you came to Belichick as a player, were you surprised how much interest he had in special teams?
No, but I mean, he originally started as a special teams coach. He understands the impact that the kicking game has to set up your offense, to set up your defense, and ultimately, those plays, a lot of those plays impact the game because they're scoring plays. So no, and he always stressed, the importance of, and it reflected with, how we fielded our roster and the ways we would be able to get extra guys to the game to be able to contribute in the kicking game. Just for example, some things that stand out to me were we had Patrick Chung who could play nickel and safety, so we were able to bring another special teams body to the game because Pat could do both. So there's always ways that you're able to, manufacture the roster to be able to have an extra teams guy at the game.
You wouldn't have played in the NFL if not for special teams, correct?
Me? I would not have made a roster, no. I played a little bit of defense when I was here my first 2 years, but yeah. No, not at all. And I ultimately made it because I was a practice squad player my rookie year, and I did everything. I played offense, defense, and then in my third year they moved me to receiver. I played receiver for 2 years in New England. So.
Bubba, Jimmy Haslam said that he's been kind of perplexed with how this season has gone. Is that a good definition or feeling about this season as a whole?
Probably. I mean, look, here's the thing. No one's happy with how our season has turned out. We're hoping that in the next 4 weeks we can build some momentum going into next year. I will say this, our players are playing hard. The coaches are working hard to be able to try to gain some momentum, gain some traction heading into the off season. I think that obviously we haven't had the win results like we wanted. You go to the playoffs last year and you come back this year and we've only had 3 wins to this point, and obviously it's disappointing. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
What did you guys do so well on that long Jerome kick return? And I know you've been looking for that all year, that kind of burst.
Yeah, I think, it was an emphasis post-bye week that we wanted to just put more time and effort into that. I think the guys are getting more comfortable with the blocking techniques. We did a good job securing some blocks on that. Jerome made a nice run. Hopefully we can have more production in the next 4 weeks.
When you look at the Chiefs' special teams units, what kind of stands out as areas for you guys to focus on?
Dave Tobe's done a really nice job in his career. One of the best guys in the league. He's always specialized in the return game, so they do a good job in the return game. A bunch of guys have done it well. The kid that they played last week is a dynamic player. Remigio did a nice job. So we'll look to play good leverage versus him and tackle well.
Chance, don't know yet, but Butker could be back for them. How much does that change the dynamics of their field goal? What they can do.
Yeah, he's a super talented kicker. Very, very talented kicker. Very accurate. Has distance and range. He has a stronger leg than Matthew Wright, who's also an accurate kicker. Just can't hit for as far of distances as Butker can. So I think that'd probably be the biggest impact that it would have relative to the field goal distance and range that they would have in a game.
Justin Reed just kind of barely get it into the kicking zone, or is he booted into the end zone?
He's got a strong leg. He's put the ball in the end zone a number of times. He did it. Butker got hurt, I think it was 2 years ago versus Arizona. He hurt his ankle, and Justin Reed came in and finished that game off kicking. He kicked off for them last week, and then with him kicking off, it provides them another coverage player that can tackle. So.
It had an impact?
I'm sorry?
Did it look on their kickoffs like it made an impact?
Yeah, I think I thought he did a good job. Yeah.
An eye on things around the league. There's an unusual play at the end of the Bengals-Cowboys game the other night, punt block, and then tried to recover whatever. When something like that happens, do you kind of review things?
Yeah.
Because
Ironically, I showed a clip probably about a month ago of a very similar clip, and ironically, it was Justin Reed's brother, Eric Reed. So we were playing in San Francisco, 2013. We're playing at home versus Carolina, and he was playing wing. And a similar thing happened where he gave up a block. The ball travels across the line of scrimmage. Carolina's guy touched the ball, and then Eric Reed recovered the ball, and now we had the ball 1st and 10. So unfortunate for, obviously, you give up or you get a block punt and it travels past the line of scrimmage. It's unfortunate for Dallas because they make a great play there, and you can't account for the ball going across the line of scrimmage, and you can't account for somebody accident or not accidentally, but trying to field it and then it goes the other way. But it was a good play by Dallas, and the guy from Cincinnati was just in the right spot at the right time to get on the recovery.
Well, with your guys, when the punt's blocked like that, just
So
get away.
once the ball travels across the line of scrimmage, it's like it was just a regular punt. So just try to get away. We give we call it Peter, and you just try to vacate the area as fast as you can. Whoever's in the area and sees the ball, normally if it's a short ball and the returner sees the ball being short, we tell our guys to attack the ball and give a visual so that everyone around the area can see to get away. But that ball didn't travel too far down the field, so it was tough. But in that case, we're just telling our guys, it's like once the ball crossed the line of scrimmage, it's like it was not blocked at all. So
Growing up?
I do remember the Leon let. They blocked the field goal, right, and he goes to get on it. And wasn't that a Thanksgiving Day game, and they had the roof open and it snowed, right? Yeah. I do remember that, yeah.
Your Kozar was on the Dallas team.
Oh, is that right? Cool. All right, thanks.
David's not able to go for you this week. I know he's dealing with that hamstring. How do you adjust, especially when he's been getting so many targets recently?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Dave's a big part of what we do, but I think we got a lot of faith in that room. And guys step up, and that's part of this league and part of what you have to go throughout the course of the league. If somebody, there's a problem with somebody and they can't go, then somebody has to step up, and obviously, it's a by committee approach when it's somebody like Dave who does so many different things, and that's okay. And we've got guys who can fill those roles and do different things and be able to block and get out and run routes and whatnot. So. We'll kind of see as the week goes here and continue to plan, but I think that's part of the nature of the league is just guys need to step up and be ready to go.
One of the challenges of calling a game against Mahomes,
Yeah, I think.
especially a close game, is giving him time with the ball.
Yeah.
When do you start thinking about that in a close game, and how do you?
No, it's a great question, and been in this position before against Kansas City a couple of years ago, and we went down, had a 2-minute drive, and were able to go up, and they had some time left, and fortunately on that one we were able to hold them, and so obviously they've got a great team, a great offense, and won a lot of close games. So it's definitely a balancing act to where you don't want to be detrimental to what you're doing on offense, to where you're not doing something where you can't go out and execute, or you put yourself in a bad situation because you're trying to, conserve or run down the clock. So, keeping the main thing is we got to go out and score points. And if you're in those situations, then, obviously you take those things into account, but at the same time, you got to be able to go out and score and go up, to give your defense that chance to then stop them.
Coach, try coaching up Jameis with the picks versus not taking the ball out of his hands in those situations.
Yeah, and the thing I respect about Jameis is that, you know who he is, and you know that he's going to go out and, hey, if something bad happens, he's not going to go in a shell, which is what you want from your quarterback. You want your quarterback to still be able to go out and have the confidence to keep firing and keep playing. And play confident, and I think you've seen that from him. That being said, obviously, our main objective is to play smart, not conservative, in the quarterback room and protect the football. And so we're going to constantly coach that and preach it and make sure we're doing the right things in that regard to continue to improve there because we need to. And I think Jameis knows that, and us as an offense, we know that because it takes everybody. It's not just it's not just Jameis, it's not just one thing. There's an execution piece with all 11 involved in those scenarios.
I know they're not high in the league in sacks, but pressure-wise, is this a defense is this going to be one of the more aggressive defenses that you face in terms of pressure and variety of pressure?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they do a great job, creating pressures, whether it's through blitzing or through getting elite players matched up one-on-one. And obviously they've got some really good players on the other side. Obviously Chris Jones is an elite player on the inside who moves around, and they do a good job trying to create matchups for him. So those are all things that make it tough, and you got to be on top of it in terms of, picking things up and protecting and quarterback having a good time clock in his head, and being decisive with it, and guys going and getting open, because those pressure packages, they give you different looks, and I'm sure they'll have unscouted things that they haven't shown, and you got to have base rules that will hold up and be able to protect those things, because they are aggressive and they do a good job with it.
The Chiefs are also their defense is third in the league in stopping the run. So how do you game plan, I guess, in the sense of knowing that they excel in stopping the run but still being able to use the run and the pass game?
Yeah, I mean, we got to be able to do both. We got to be able to run the football, and we got to be able to throw it and protect. And I mean, that's the key. You do want to stay balanced, and some games take on a life of their own, where you're throwing it more than you're running, or you're running more than you're throwing it. But you want to make sure to constantly give yourself that ability to stay balanced and play in the green, play in positive scenarios, and be able to use the sticks to your advantage. So we got to be able to do that, both run and pass, and be efficient on first and second down, which is going to help you on third down, and then hopefully skip some of those third downs. So whether it's running the ball or throwing the ball, obviously they do a good job. They've got a tough front to run it against, and then they do a good job with getting in your face and disrupting the pass game. So execution's definitely at a premium, and that's through knowing what to do, how to do it with great technique.
I know there's reasons why you've thrown it as much as you have as a team this year, but a couple of the linemen are saying, hey, when you throw it as much as we have, it's hard to get better in the run game, when you're only running it whatever percentage of the time. Like, do you think that's been a factor in why the run game hasn't been as successful, just because you haven't done it as much?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think obviously there's times where I think there's multiple. It's again, it takes all 11 guys, and it takes the execution piece of it. I thought this past game, guys got in a good rhythm, and we were able to create some holes and do some really good things in the run game. So I think there's a balance there that you got to be able to strike and still be efficient running the ball while being able to throw it. And so, I think there's always going to be that balance and tying together with some of the run game with the play action game and keeper game and all that stuff. But, I do think that, you work on it and you stress it, and you've got to be able to execute at a high level each game, because each game does take on a life of its own, and whether it is running the ball or throwing it. So you always want to let those guys get in a rhythm and come off the ball, and the more we could do that coming down the stretch here, I think the better off we'll be, because we do have a good group up front, who could do some really good things in the run game. Just continue to give them those opportunities and continue to try to stay as balanced as possible.
The other night I saw Joe Burrow throw the ball 17 times to Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you explain throwing to Judy only twice in the first half of the Pittsburgh game when he's the hottest receiver in the league?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think there's a balance you got to strike there. Obviously, JJ's a big part of what we do, and we want to try to get him, keep him involved as much as possible, because we know how valuable he is, to us as an offense and as a team. So I think there's always, multiple factors there, whether it's play calling, whether it's what the defense is doing. There's factors there in terms of him only having the 2 targets, and so something we'll always look at to make sure we're keeping him involved, and at the same time forcing a defense to have to cover multiple targets.
Sunday's game, you see the stat at the halftime and you say, how did that happen? Let's change that.
No, yeah, I mean, obviously you always look, I mean, Jerry's an important part of what we do, so we always want to make sure that he's going to be involved. And again, I think there's multiple reasons on why those things happen. And look, the more you're on the field and the more you could have extended drives, the more opportunities JJ's going to get, the more opportunities we'll get in the run game. The key is just continue to stay on the field, have sustained drives, and guys are going to have more opportunities, whether it's running the ball or throwing the ball.
When you go into a game, do you sort of anticipate trying to be as balanced as possible with the run and the pass, or is it more like you would say at this point passing the ball is more your strength, so you probably cater a little bit more towards that?
I think you definitely go into it thinking, I always go into it saying I want to be balanced. I don't go into games saying, I want to throw it 60 times, I always want to be able to attack in multiple different ways. And I think that's when, you're at your best. And even in games where you are throwing it more, you can't throw it every down. You still got to run the ball. You still got to do those things. And look, I'm as proponent as anybody as being able to run the football, and I want to be able to do that as much as possible. So I don't want to go into a game and just say, hey, we're going to throw it every time or anything like that. I want to go into each game saying, look, we're gonna attack with balance, and when we have to pivot, and if we're going to run the ball a little bit more, then we're going to run the ball a little bit more, like this past game. If we're going to throw the ball a little bit more, then we're going to throw the ball a little bit more, based off of what we're getting. But I always want to try to stay as balanced as possible to one, help those guys up out front, because they do a good job. They work their tails off. They've done a great job in protection. In a lot of ways, you want to give them those opportunities to come off the football, and I want to be able to give that to those guys. So I want to stay balanced as possible, and when we have to pivot, then you got to pivot and adjust as the game goes.
Quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, is a Patrick so talented that he can be this good with whoever he's paired with? Or is the Patrick Andy thing just so right? And if so, what have you learned from watching these two guys over the years?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I wish I could give you an answer. Obviously, just haven't been as focused on their side of the ball as much. Obviously, you do off-season studies, and he's a great coach, and he's a great player. And they do a good job. Mixing it up and doing different things and continue to evolve as an offense. So we got our hands full defensively with them on the defensive side of the ball. So haven't been able to focus too much on the offense side, but I just know obviously they got a good thing going over there on offense.
On that second interception, after the game he made a perfect throw. What did you see on that play? And was it a good throw? Was there an issue with the route run by Elijah there?
Oh, yeah. No, I think, that's one of those where you're in a situation where you're trying to come back. You're in the situation we were in, and, we're trying to get the ball downfield, and they got some depth right there, and it forced him to have to put it over the top. And so, credit to them. They'll make some good plays sometimes. Even when you make a good throw and a guy's, in the spot, sometimes the defense is going to make a play. And so we'll constantly look at and evaluate those things and make sure that we're doing the right things. But, I think that's a balancing act you gotta have when you're in those situations of seeing, hey, how much time do I have, and do I have time to continue to be patient and continue to take the underneath, or do I need to push the ball downfield? So those are always things we're going to evaluate and make sure that we're educating our guys based off of situational football, which is huge. All right, thank you guys.